Hopefully you've seen the welcome video that I gave you before, but just a quick recap. My name is Louisa McCabe. I've been teaching at City Tech since 2005, which it makes it 20 years. Um, I've been living in France for the last 10 years, so I'm 6 hours ahead of you, but I've been doing this online course for the last 10 years as well. They have a new syllabus set up in Brightspace, um, which is more geared for in-class teaching than online. So it didn't quite fit the way I wanted it to. So you can take a look at the syllabus there. I mean, there's a bunch of information there. I've also put a PDF that gives you much more of a kind of blow-by-blow account of how this semester is going to roll out. I will probably conquer that syllabus tool by next semester, but the PDF will tell you everything. There's also a first class flyer that's also in content on Brightspace, and that explains what's expected of you over the next week or so. And we're going to review some of that stuff now, just so it's really clear, so you don't have any problems. The thing with online teaching, online classes, is it's really easy to get the wrong impression about stuff. And then you're not in a class situation, there's not a big conversation, and sometimes you start going off in the wrong direction. So sometimes I will tell you things more than once just to make sure you get it right. And when you have questions, definitely ask them, because it just makes your life a lot easier. So at this point, you should have accepted an invite to Dropbox. And in that Dropbox is a folder called Week 1. And Week 1 is where you're going to put your personal essay and your first 3 projects. So your personal essay is, where am I? Where do I want to get to? Basically, as a designer. And you'll also put your first 3 projects. And these are projects that you've either done in a class or in an internship or as a personal project or stuff that you've done on the job. And we will go over them. Preferably as a PDF, because sometimes I can put a note on a PDF. I can say, just fix the kerning here or something like that, just in a very specific place. It's easier than trying to explain in an email, 3rd paragraph on the 2nd page or then blah, blah, blah. So yeah, PDFs are easy. If you have like a huge video or something, that can crash Dropbox. So post it to YouTube or video and then just send me the link. Send me the link on a document in Dropbox. Don't send files to my email, because then things start being in different places. If you put everything into the Dropbox, the latest folder on Dropbox, then both of us know exactly where everything is at the same time. It's much easier to organize everything and things don't get lost. Like emails get lost because they do all the time. Okay, so you can personal essay, which is actually due today, first 3 folders, and then in our one-on-one meetings, we'll go over your projects. Some of you know exactly what you want and what you're going for. Some of you have a job already. Some of you have no idea how you're supposed to proceed. And some of you are in between. So your essay is a chance to express that. And this class is a chance to clarify your direction. And if you have a particular hole in your experience, for instance, experience with AI, we can take care of that this semester. We can address that this semester. Sometimes people are very, very prepared for this class, and sometimes people aren't prepared at all. So both of those things are a jumping off place, and this is the way I can help you the best. So when you post stuff to Dropbox, send me an email, tell me that it's there. Dropbox theoretically will email me and tell me that it's there, but it doesn't always do it. I don't know why. So just send me an email, say, I just uploaded some work. I can look at it, and then before we meet, and then I will have a much better idea of where you are. So it's not just a big surprise every time. We will not be meeting as a Zoom class every week. We're an asynchronous class, but I do need to communicate with you every week. And as I mentioned before, I'm very flexible about changing times. If you say 11:38 and say, oh, I, I, I'm stuck somewhere, can we meet in 3 hours? Then yeah, I'm happy about changing times. But if you're going to miss a class, please let me know in advance if you possibly can. And that way I'm not waiting around for you. If you send me, I'm going to ask you for your phone numbers also. If you don't send them to me, I'll just ask them for you when we meet. So don't worry about whether you've done it or not. But that way you can just text me and say, I'm stuck at the doctor's office, I can't talk. Or I'm going to be stuck at the doctor's office. However you want to tell me, that's a good way to tell me. The thing that kind of teased me off is when nobody tells me anything. And that, again, is this online life of people needing to know where everybody is. And that's important when you're working online, remotely. You need to let everybody know what you're up to and where you are and so forth. Anyway, so there's so many different ways of being a designer. And I'm saying designer, but I'm using that as a sort of catch-all phrase for animator or photographer or illustrator or any of these things. It can get really complicated. So here's a job ad I found, and it says a global food brand is looking for a remote senior designer with AI prompting experience. You need a portfolio that demonstrates excellent eye for design of photography and art direction, strong retouching and photo comping skills, excellent skills in the creative suite, especially Photoshop, experience designing for a variety of assets, including signage, digital print, experience with AI tools. So you'll find that a lot of people are using Firefly, and Firefly guarantees that there's not going to be a copyright issue, because all the images that they scrape off the internet are what's the word? They're free of copyright restrictions. They're not stealing from people who have copyright right now. What that means is that everything looks kind of old-fashioned because a lot of the images are from like the 50s and 60s and 70s. But it's a safe tool to use, and because nobody's going to sue you. So knowing Adobe Firefly, or at least having a sort of passing understanding of Firefly, is a big plus to put on your resume. But in this job ad, there's a lot of skills, but you have a lot of those skills. If you don't have all of those skills, what would you need to fill that gap in your experience? Now, this is where you come to your portfolio. Your portfolio showcases all these different skills and the creative imagination that you have learned and explored with during your education and in your internships. This is where you collect your strongest work to present to potential employers with the goal of getting hired. Your work can come from full-time or freelance jobs you've done, internships, work you've done for friends and family, personal work, but mostly from your classes. This will also include evidence of your process. You show the final design, then you show how you got there, your initial ideas, the different versions, drawings that you've done. I also think you should include as projects some eye candy, like a really pretty illustration you've done, or a great piece of typography, or a nice little animation. Now, I think everybody, no matter what area you're going into, you should have at least one animation in your portfolio, preferably 3, mainly because everybody loves animation and everyone puts little GIFs in every damn thing. So I will talk to you about that one-on-one. But yes, keep in mind, a simple Photoshop animation would be perfectly fine. But we'll talk about that. So you may think your work may not be as good as you'd like. You get projects from a couple years ago, it's like, oh God, what did I do there? The fact is that's normal. And by the time you're a senior and you're about to graduate, you're a much better designer than you were a couple years previously. So you look at these projects freshly And because you put quite a lot of work into these projects, even if they're not that great, but you're better now. So you can look at them again and say, okay, how can I make this much better? Which is honestly, in offices, that's frequently what you're doing anyway. You're fixing someone else's work. So my role here is like a creative director. I give you feedback on your concept and your technical ability, your design choices with fonts and colors and composition and channels, the timing, sound, and movement, if it's an animation or a broadcast thing. The difference is, while a creative director in an agency wants you to realize their design aesthetic, I'm helping you to realize your design aesthetic. So you'll also expand your projects. If you have a strong campaign, you can think about what other channels would enhance that message. For instance, if you have a print ad campaign, you can expand it to include social media, an animated GIF, a billboard, a series of subway ads. By the way, every single project should have a digital element these days, and this should be in your portfolio. A magazine project can be expanded to include a feature or a product page or a table of contents or a cover. If you have a branding project, you could go beyond the logo and stationery and show your logo projected onto the sky, like a Batman signal. You could put it on the wall of a building. You could put it into wallpaper. You could put it into a rug. You could do it shopping bags, or you could do T-shirts. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can expand branding. You could design an annual report that uses the branding and the logo and colors in that annual report, or even just like a little, pamphlet or something. Employers really like to see the work you do consistent over a bunch of different channels. In addition, most projects can be improved by adding something animated, even if it's just an animated logo. So when I'm talking about the animations, they don't have to be just, out of the blue. If you're doing a branding project, you can animate the logo. If you're doing a bunch of subway ads, you could do an animated poster like they have in the subways. Those big screens in the posters, something in Times Square, going across. There's a bunch of cool kinds of animations that you could do to add to the current projects that you already have. So one student was particularly well prepared for this class. She had tons of work. It was great. So she took the opportunity of this class to teach herself something really complicated in After Effects. This really complicated technique, and it was beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you are thinking about adding any strings to your bow, After Effects is a great one to have. Even if you just have something really basic in After Effects, it's a really good program to get better at. The thing with AI is animated things and, simulated movies and, when they have President Trump playing tennis or something like that. Those are actually, they take up a ton of energy and they're expensive to make. The simple AI things are much easier to do. So animating stuff in After Effects saves people a lot of time and effort and money. Because for simple things, AI, it's still quite expensive to do that if it's moving around. The static stuff is a lot easier to use, and static imagery and ads and so forth, and also like sort of basic research, all of that stuff, AI is very fast and cheap. Moving stuff, that's a bigger deal. So if you can still do that, that would be great to show. So for the animations, you could do also, like a TikTok or Instagram reel. These can be a useful marketing tool, and they'd be a great digital addition to something that you have already. Another option, which one student did, was to make a TikTok about herself. So it's a self-marketing thing. I'm a newly minted graphic designer. This is what I do. Please hire me, that kind of thing. You could put it on TikTok, but you could also put it on your website itself. If you have a great illustration, you could expand it to include different illustrations on that same topic, or another in a series. If you've created a character, you can add the character showing different expressions and poses and action and so forth. Things to watch out for are spelling errors, which pretty much everybody has in their early portfolio, low res or inappropriate images, an unclear or overly complicated logo, a website whose navigation is not working, boring typography, colors that show basic colors like 100% cyan, 100% magenta, 100% yellow. That kind of thing looks a bit studenty. Do you want to be more creative with your colors and have a bit more fun with your colors? So we at City Tech, we have a lot of competition. There are students graduating from Parsons and Pratt and RISD and General Assembly and FIT every semester. Students from the top design schools in the world are entering the New York job market. Now that remote working is so much more normal, they can live in, say, France and compete for work in New York without leaving their kitchen table. But you can go toe-to-toe with them in the design industry and come out ahead. Plenty of City Tech graduates already have, but that's why this semester is tough. We're preparing you to take on the design industry and win. And what will make the difference is a world-class portfolio. So just so we're clear, many of the professors at City Tech also teach at Parsons, Pratt, RISD, NYU, other well-known schools. I used to teach at Pratt and RISD. The education you're receiving at City Tech is literally frequently taught by the same people who teach at all those world-famous design schools, which will hopefully cheer you up a bit. At the end of the semester, this class requires a website and a PDF version of your portfolio. The department wants 3 to 6 projects, depending on their complexity, and including evidence of your process. I want at least 1 animation, or TikTok or Reel, and little eye candy would be a big plus. Now, 3 to 6 projects is kind of on the low side, so I would aim more towards the 6 side, and if you had 7 or 8, that would also be good. But I will talk to you individually about how broad your portfolio should be. One thing a lot of people do is they like throw a lot of merch in there. And so they'll do an advertising campaign. It'll be on a t-shirt and then a mug and this and that and the other. That kind of spreads it out a little bit and it makes it look like you have a lot more when you actually don't have that much more. I mean, I like having those things in the portfolio, but it doesn't really count as more work. It's just, you know, you're just showing a bit of expansion, but the guys graduating from all those high-class design schools, they have very substantial portfolios, and I want you to have very substantial portfolios. So for the first 2/3 of the semester, we're focusing on improving getting your personal branding out of the way. The final part of the semester is about presenting your work. Sorry, the first 2 thirds of the semester are getting your projects finished and your personal branding finished. Projects and branding. So projects and resume, logo, cover letter. And then the final part of the semester is about the presentation of your work in your website and on your PDF. However, you don't need to work on your website right now, but do create a website if you don't have one yet. And as you finish projects through the semester, then you upload them to your site. And so by the end, it's already got all that stuff. A free website is fine. There's free versions of Wix and there's Portfolio Box and, you know, there's Adobe ones. Only do an Adobe website if you're sure that you're going to keep paying for Adobe after you graduate. But all of those are fine. Weebly, Behance, Squarespace doesn't have a free option. I like Squarespace because they have an excellent help lines. I'm terrible at websites, so I just ask them and they tell me right back, and it's really good. That's That's almost the most important thing for me. But you guys are much more savvy about that kind of stuff. Choose whatever you want. You can pay for your own domain if you want. You can get a free one if you want, but have something online that's going to showcase your work. After you graduate, you can change it up or whatever. But for this semester, get something so we can put it online. We can show the department that you've covered that. Good. So after I have a meeting with you online on Sunday or Monday, you will take the feedback I give you in our meeting and improve your work. When we both agree that you've completed a project, you send me a new project. You can have 3 projects on the go all the time. Different projects require more or less work. So I give you feedback. And you may disagree with what I say. You don't have to do everything I say, but you do have to address the issue that I'm raising. So if I'm saying that this composition is too complicated, and I might make a suggestion, put the headline over here, or, move the image down there, you may not do that. You might come up with a totally different solution. And honestly, that's the best thing to do. But you do have to address it, because if I'm noticing it, everybody who's looking at your portfolio will notice it too. The more solutions that you come, I try not to give you too many suggestions so that you can come up with the answer to these things. But do take on board the critique, and it's nothing personal. It's not saying that you don't have skills. It just means that this has to be addressed. And this happens in businesses all the time. This thing's too dark. You could figure out some way of making her look better or something like that. People will tell you this kind of stuff all the time. You have to address it. You can't just pretend it's not happening. And, usually this class goes very smoothly. We talk, you send me stuff, we talk again. It just goes on all semester. And then by the end, you have a great portfolio. So for next week, in addition to updating your project work after we've spoken on Sunday and Monday, send me your resume. So for now, we're focusing on the content of your resume. If you don't need to design your resume yet. If you designed it already, that's fine. But for now, I'm only interested in the content. So you make sure you have all the descriptions and names of the jobs and the dates, and all the software that have everything in there. If you use one of those templates from online, you're probably going to have to start again in InDesign. Your resume is kind of an art piece as well, a design piece as well. And when you use those templates, you're awfully restricted. So I'd strongly suggest you use InDesign, but don't worry about it for next week. If you have something in one of those templates, then just send it to me as it is, and we can go over the information. So what else? Right. So if you haven't signed up to LinkedIn yet, sign up to LinkedIn, link to me, start linking to people. I'm going to have a whole thing about networking later. But for now, yeah, just sign up. You don't have to do anything yet, but just sign up to LinkedIn. So anybody have any questions? You can put them in the chat, or you can just tell me. Anyone? Is everyone completely clear about what you have to do for our meeting tomorrow? Just say yes if you are. Yes, excellent. Everett said yes. So did Eugene. Nastasia. Alan.
So just to recap, right? We need to have uploaded the projects we're choosing into Dropbox.
Yep.
And we also need to have uploaded our personal essay to you. And then after our personal meeting, you want us to upload the resume, right? Or send you our resume.
Upload in week 2.
Okay, gotcha.
Because
Okay,
each week either you or me will create a new folder so that your latest work is always in the latest folder. So
gotcha.
resume, week 2, and the 3 projects, yeah, PDFs if you can, PDFs if you can.
Gotcha. Okay,
Good.
cool.
Anyone else?
Week 2 would be only on Dropbox, not Brightspace, right?
Yes, Dropbox.
Okay.
Good. Anyone else? Good, excellent. If you do have any more questions, just email me on the City Tech email, and if there's nothing else, then I'll just see you at our meetings.
Oh, sorry, I have one more question. My meeting is tomorrow at 9. I'll get a Zoom link like later on, like today or tomorrow morning, right?
Um, I think we could just use this link. Oh, actually, we can't. We can't. I'm gonna put a new link up. I'm having a stupid problem with the Zoom. I'll put a new link up in Brightspace in the announcements section, and we'll use that
Okay.
for the rest of the semester, and that'll be for everybody on both days.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
No problem. Okay, well, nice to meet you all, and we will talk tomorrow and the next day.
Thank you, Professor. Bye, everyone.
Take
Here,
care, Professor.
bye.
Later, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.